"There's an error in your formula," the waitress said sharply, pointing at the napkin he had been scribbling on, and in that moment the entire restaurant seemed to freeze. The man, seated across from three stone-faced investors, felt his blood run cold as the words echoed in his ears. He had been pouring out his final desperate pitch, numbers scrawled across a napkin because the presentation he had prepared had crashed, and now a waitress, someone who wasn't even part of this dinner, was pointing out flaws in front of the very people who held his future in their hands. The investors leaned forward with smirks, their expensive suits gleaming under the golden chandeliers, and one of them chuckled, whispering just loud enough for others to hear. "Even the waitress sees it. This guy's finished." Humiliation washed over him. His face burning red, his chest tight with shame. He wanted to shout back, to defend himself, but he couldn't, because a small part of him feared she might be right. The waitress didn't back down. She calmly placed a water jug on the table, looked at the napkin again, and repeated with quiet certainty, "You've switched two variables. That's why the model's output is wrong." Her voice wasn't arrogant, just steady, the kind of tone that comes from someone who knows exactly what they're talking about. The investors laughed harder, one shaking his head. "Oh, so now we're getting financial advice from waitstaff," he mocked. But the man looked down at the napkin again, heart racing. Could she be serious? The formula in front of him had consumed his life for months, and yet here she was, seeing in seconds what his entire team of analysts had missed. He whispered hoarsely, "What do you mean?" And she leaned in slightly, pointing at a symbol with her finger. "Right here. You reversed the placement. If you put it back where it belongs, the efficiency jumps. Without it, your output will always fall short. With it, you might just have something groundbreaking." For a moment he could only stare at her, stunned. He grabbed the pen and adjusted the formula quickly, almost in disbelief, then recalculated in his head. His pulse surged. She was right. She had spotted the flaw, the very flaw that had kept his projections weak, the one detail that had almost destroyed his credibility. He looked up at the investors, whose smirks were beginning to fade, and he slid the corrected napkin across the table. They leaned in, reading carefully, their expressions shifting from mockery to confusion, then to dawning realization. One of them furrowed his brow and muttered, "If this holds true, the efficiency is 3 times higher." Another whispered sharply, "This changes everything." Within minutes, the conversation transformed from dismissive laughter to serious interest. They began pulling out calculators, flipping through documents, scribbling notes furiously. "This could be worth $150 million, one of them finally said, his voice filled with awe. The deal that had been on the brink of collapse was suddenly alive again, all because of a waitress who dared to speak. The man sat back, his heart hammering, relief flooding through him. Hours ago he had been drowning, humiliated, a step away from ruin. Now he was watching his dream resurrect before his eyes. He turned toward the waitress, who was already stepping back with a modest smile, as if what she had done was nothing. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice unsteady. She hesitated, then replied softly, "Emily." He swallowed hard, emotions choking him. "Emily, you just saved my life." She shook her head lightly, brushing it off. "I studied applied mathematics before I took this job. I guess old habits never leave." He blinked in disbelief. "Mathematics? Then why are you working here?" Her smile dimmed and she said quietly, "My family needed money. Dreams had to wait. Serving tables was the fastest way to help them." The weight of her words hit him like a storm. Here was a woman of brilliance, hidden beneath a uniform, ignored and underestimated by everyone who looked at her and saw only a waitress. The investors, now buzzing with excitement, shook his hand firmly, sealing the deal. Contracts were promised, numbers finalized. In 5 short minutes, what had seemed like certain failure had transformed into triumph. And it was all because of her. When the investors left, the man remained seated, staring at the napkin as if it were a miracle. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his card, and slid it toward her. "Emily, I don't want you wasting your talent here. Join me. Help me build this. I need someone like you." Her eyes widened, her hand trembling as she took the card. For years she had been invisible, her genius hidden in plain sight, but in one moment of courage she had changed her destiny. As she slipped the card into her pocket, the man realized something too. Never underestimate the people around you, because sometimes the answers you're searching for come from the most unexpected places. The waitress who corrected him hadn't just saved his deal. She had reminded him that brilliance can be hidden anywhere, waiting for a chance to shine. And as they exchanged a look of mutual respect, the entire restaurant, still buzzing with whispers about what had just happened, seemed to fade away. This wasn't just a $150 million turnaround. This was proof that courage and intelligence can rise from the unlikeliest of places, changing lives in an instant. Love, respect, opportunity, none of it should ever be judged by titles or uniforms. That night, a waitress became the hero of a story no one would ever forget. Before we end this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear. If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know how you feel in the comments.